Victim framing. Why sad stories go viral. Emotion. There is something about a sad story that reaches us faster than logic ever could. We don't just observe it, we feel it. And once that feeling appears, it spreads, quietly but powerfully. Have you noticed? On the internet, sad stories almost always travel faster than ordinary ones. They get shared more, commented on more, believed more easily. This isn't an accident. There are psychological mechanisms and rhetorical strategies that make victim framing incredibly persuasive. Victim framing is the way a story is structured so that someone appears clearly harmed, marginalized, or unfairly treated. In classical rhetoric, traced back to thinkers like Aristotle, emotion or pathos is one of the most powerful tools of persuasion, and empathy is among the strongest human emotions. When someone is positioned as a victim, our empathy activates almost automatically. Before we analyze the facts, we've already chosen a side. First, emotional proximity. Sad stories trigger our innate ability to feel another person's pain. Our social brain lights up. We want to care. We want to help. Second, the protection instinct. Humans are wired to defend those perceived as vulnerable. When we witness injustice, our brain signals, "This matters." Third, moral outrage. There is a form of anger that isn't rooted in ego, but in a sense that something is wrong. And moral anger spreads quickly. It moves fingers to the share button before the mind finishes questioning. Fourth, social resonance. Sad stories often reflect universal experiences: loss, rejection, betrayal, unfairness. When we think, "I felt that too," the story becomes personal, and personal stories travel further. But here is where we must pause. Victim framing is a double-edged sword. When emotion dominates the narrative, we can lose critical distance. We may empathize deeply before asking, "Is this the full story? Is the context complete? What perspective might be missing?" Empathy is beautiful, but empathy without clarity can make us vulnerable to manipulation. Not every emotionally powerful story is factually balanced. So how do we respond wisely? First, recognize the pattern. Emotion almost always arrives before analysis. That's human. But so is reasoning. Second, separate empathy from conclusion. You can care without immediately deciding. Compassion does not require intellectual surrender. Third, expand the context. Who is telling this story? What might their purpose be? What information is absent? Not to become cynical, but to remain fair. Because being human means we feel. But being mature means we balance feeling with thought. Sad stories move us because they speak to the softest parts of who we are. And that softness is something worth protecting. But in a world overflowing with narratives, we need more than warm hearts. We need steady minds, because sometimes the clearest voice is the one that emerges after we pause, feel fully, and then choose to think carefully. In the end, true awareness is not about shutting down emotion. It's about holding empathy in one hand and clarity in the other, and walking forward with both.